The Packers are back home, victorious, ready to play the Vikings. We'll preview the game, some of the fun activities scheduled, and share your thoughts next on the Packers Fan Podcast.
It's true. This is your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion, Green Bay Packers. And me, I'm Wayne Henderson, and I'm pretty dang happy to have a great punter on special teams for a change.
And I'm Scott Clark, and I've never been more happy to be wrong in my prediction for a Packers game. This is episode 182, recorded September 9th, 2019, and on this episode, we'll discuss the Packers' first road win of the season. You know we're going to be celebrating that. Also, we've got a defense.
Ooh, and we're already getting ready to face another NFC North foe. The Pack get to settle in at home for a bit, and we're going to be sharing your feedback that came in at 920-3PACK-GO from email and from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community. And any articles we might mention in this episode will be linked at PackersFanPodcast.com. Well, Scott, like you alluded to, not only did we start the season with the win, we started it with a win over a division rival, and it was on the road. Does it get much better than that?
Oh, man, you want to talk about just a good feeling walking out of that bar. But as you can imagine, because I was watching it out in public, not at home, I was in the minority of people in the establishment I was located that had Bears fans in it. And you know me, I'm not one of those Packer fans that rubs anything in anybody's faces or anything like that. But I definitely got some dirty looks and sideways glances as I walked out of that place. But it still felt good. It was because, like I said last week, I had no intention of us walking away with a W on that one, and we totally did, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's almost like we stole that victory. We got away with one because with the Chicago crowd being so loud, their defense that everybody's been talking about was so amped up. I knew that if we could just hang in there with them for, say, the first third of the game till the crowd quieted down a bit and everything settled in, then it's anybody's ball game. And the fact that Jimmy Graham, of all people, gets the first touchdown of the entire NFL 100th season and the only touchdown of this particular game, I thought that was a nice touch.
It really was. I mean, because of his history with the league, I thought it was really cool to see him do that. I mean, would I have rather have seen Rodgers throw it in the end zone maybe, or run it in the end zone? Perhaps. But I can't think of anybody I would have much rather seen do that. So I'm glad we've got him on the team.
And I'm glad we got that one touchdown. That was
me too.
And
it was pretty sad because we were watching the game and somebody was commenting and saying, it's pretty sad that the Cubs-Brewers game that's on the TV right next to ours, they're scoring more points in a baseball game than was scored in this entire game was pretty sad.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we didn't play in preseason. We were rusty. The Bears were really rusty. A win is a win is a win. And J.K. Scott, our punter, am I right?
Oh, my goodness. It's just kind of insane what this kid is able to do. He's really shown how great of a kicker he is. I mean, it seems crazy to talk about how awesome a kicker is because they're kind of that player on a team that is never really explosive except for when it comes to field goals. But when a punter is doing such great things, I think he deserves some accolades for his numbers.
Yeah, some of the stats that came out of that game, had 8 punts for 365 yards. That's 45.6 yards on average. 5 of his punts landed inside the 20-yard line, and his longest of the night was 63 yards. And just the field position game and keeping the Bears way down there just helped ensure that we were going to win that game.
And just you've got a picture posted here in the format that I know doesn't make for great radio, but just his form and how straight up and down his leg is after kicking that ball is just astounding to watch. So
yeah, I think we've all seen that photo or similar ones online this week, and I if I tried to recreate that, it would be chiropractic appointments for weeks.
Right. I love his name too. I gotta go. It's funny when I was first preparing for this episode and you wrote J.K. Scott, I read that as just kidding Scott, and I'm like, what are you kidding about, Wayne? What's going on? What's really funny is, as you know, I'm a big Kenny Clark fan, and I've got a Kenny Clark jersey. So I really want to get my wife a J.K. Scott jersey so that we can have a picture from behind of us of her wearing a Scott jersey and me wearing a Clark jersey. It just, when else are you going to have that opportunity? I think I got to make that happen.
I think it's destiny.
I think it's also important to note that we just beat one of the best defenses in football by having a better defense. That is a phrase I did not expect to say after this game or anytime this season. It's just nuts.
Especially after week 1, because, Aaron Rodgers and some of the players and coaches have been teasing the fact that our defense was going to be much better this season. We knew it would be at least better to some degree because of the people we brought in, the people we drafted. But if that's just the start and we can keep building on that, no wonder Aaron Rodgers was so excited on the sidelines at how well our defense was playing for the whole team.
If we could only just get the rest of things to click into place, we could be an unstoppable force this year. So fingers crossed. I'm actually even more looking forward to next week than I was going into the season, just because of how well they did, how well the defense did, and I just want to see the offense clicking on all 4 cylinders as well.
And the fact that after winning that game, we get a couple extra days of rest over the other teams to prepare for this game and hopefully shake off a little more rust in those spare days. And near the end of the game, getting to hear a few chants of "Go Pack Go" coming out of the Soldier Field Stadium in Chicago.
Did you mean Lambeau South?
Lambeau, sure, let's call it that. Lambeau South. It wasn't quite as overpowering as when 50% of the Coliseum was Packers fans, but knowing that we're bitter rivals and the fact that, maybe even right before halftime, but definitely at the beginning of the third, the Chicago faithful were not so faithful as they started booing their own team.
Yeah, that was I heard that and actually pointed it out to everybody and made them stop and listen. I was like, are they really booing the Bears right now? I felt bad for the Bears at that point.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but
I
would hate to be on a team having my home field boo anything we were doing. And it's even happened at Lambeau a few times, and it's never pretty. Not everything was roses besides the score. Aaron Rodgers and much of our offense, like I said, they were so rusty. It was just frustrating at points.
It really was. And honestly, I mean, I'm obviously happy for the win, but this was not the most exciting game to kick off the season with. I think that they chose this because they assumed the rivalry was going to make it very exciting, but not a whole lot happened. It was definitely a defensive struggle, which, kudos to Pettin and his guys over there, but just not the most fun game to watch. You like to see a lot of offense.
Right.
But I really hope that the offense can shake it off for the rest of the season and get something together, because we can't win out this season with 1 touchdown a game.
That's for sure. The fact that I know a lot of people even said that this game was actually boring. And although I too like to see a lot of great runs and touchdowns, to me, it wasn't boring at all because of how close the score was, and knowing that at any given moment, there was a chance the Bears could make a great play, score 7 or 8 points, and boom, all of a sudden be in the lead. So the tension of please hang in there, don't let them get ahead.
No, I'm with you. I was engaged the whole time, but I was also out at a bar with a bunch of Packers and Bears fans that I'm friends with, and beers and chicken wings and all that good stuff. So that always helps.
And the fact that, especially in the first half, the Bears defense was getting away with just crazy things and no flags being thrown for the most part. AR-12 being pulled to the ground by his neck, no flag. And just a year ago this week, Clay Matthews, if he would have been that blatant with what he was doing last season, he would have been flagged, fined, suspended, all of those things. It was over the top. And, I know the refs are excited for the new football season and they're supposed to be impartial, but there was at one point in the first quarter where the Bears got a first down, and I could have sworn it was somebody in the stands, the way the ref said something about due to the penalty, blah, 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 spot foul, automatic first down.
Like he was cheering for it.
Oh, he was amped up. The Bears got a first down.
Well, to be fair, the Bears had their own fair share of penalties as well. I mean, there were a couple that that I didn't feel were justified as well, and I have no problem admitting that. I'll say I'll take it, but I don't like that. I don't like that call. I mean, there was an overabundance of laundry in the field on both sides of the ball. Granted, it did help us secure a win. I don't think I've ever seen a 3rd and 40 in a game in my entire life, but still, let them play football.
I couldn't tell what direction the Bears were trying to go on that drive. When it was 3rd and 40, it was like, yikes.
It was crazy. But even still, there was a hope for them. There was still a chance, and I was still on the edge of my seat just hoping that the defense stuck it out, and thank goodness they did, because that was a very exciting win.
Yeah, which leaves the Packers at this point all alone in first place in our division, because even though the Vikings won, we beat a division rival on the road, gives us the edge. So
exactly.
Is it too early to say that everything is in our own hands?
Well, we're playing another division rival next week, man. So why don't we say that till next? Say that one for next week.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
Packers Fan Podcast G-Force, you are always invited to share your thoughts into the show a few different ways. First, you can call us at 920-3PACK-GO or at packersfan.com/feedback.
Hey guys, happy Packers season. This is Matt in Fort Mill, South Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. And just calling to respond to a couple of your questions. One is game day traditions for Packers games. My uncle, who lives in Chicago, and my cousins, and my dad and brothers and I, during Packer games, especially if the Packers are behind their opponents, we have a cheese rally. And so what we have to do is go to the fridge, find some good cheese, and eat it. And since we all live in different states now, we just text each other or call each other and wish each other good luck for the game and go Pack Go and all that good stuff. Also wanted to let you know that my wife is due with our 3rd baby next week, and secretly I'm hoping that she's going to be born on Sunday for the Bears game, so I can dress her in her first outfit, which would be a Packers onesie. Anyway, guys, good luck to us this season. It's not going to be an easy road with all the changes, but hopefully we stay healthy and have a great year. Go Pack Go. Green and gold till I'm dead and cold.
Matt, thank you so much for your call. And hopefully your 3rd child, she is here. Whether or not she was born on game day, hope all is well with the new baby. And Scott, the call has been answered. More game day traditions.
I love it. I love this tradition. I think I may have to inherit this for myself because I'm from Wisconsin, so it's like in my blood that I like cheese. And there's always some kind of cheese in my fridge. So that's a very easy, quick and easy cheese rally. I just want a T-shirt now that says cheese rally. That's fantastic. But I'm gonna get some really good, expensive cheese too. You know, like get those really fancy pinking out type of cheeses for such occasions.
Right. Not just a bunch of slices of just American quote unquote cheese.
Yes, so that processed stuff.
Never really thought of that as cheese. But Matt, I love the sound of that cheese rally. Let's bring all those traditions. And again, folks, what are your traditions? Call us and let us know and share it with the listeners. 920-3PACK-GO. Let's go ahead and check back in and see what Andre in LA has to say this week.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Hey, guys. Andre in LA. I accepted the challenge. I apologize for last week. I made the mistake of calling you right when I woke up instead of actually waking up a little bit more. So, anyway, so happy that football is back. Packers started the season off with beating the hated Bears, even though I'm from Chicago. I love it, especially more when we beat the Bears. I like a lot of what I saw from the defense last night. I like the fact that the cornerbacks from last year seem to be improving even more. Yair Alexander, King looked healthy. He was pretty good. None of the corners really got beat much. Now, I understand we got to take it with a grain of salt. It is the Bears offense. It is week 1. But I was still very happy with the pressure. Kenny Clark being consistent again. It was just a great push we got all night. It seemed pressure was there. The offense was what I expected a little bit because Aaron Rodgers didn't play in any preseason. So yesterday he looked not as sharp, didn't appear to have the arm strength consistently. But, he made the pass. And I'm really happy that we won that type of game because last year our biggest issue was we lost a lot of those close games. So I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to answer the challenge, give a great, solid Go Pack Go to start the season off. Looking forward to your thoughts. Andre in L.A., big fan of the podcast. Keep it going. Even with the new guy, I'm sorry I forgot your name that quick. But Andre in L.A., Go Pack Go, green and gold, so I'm dead and cold.
Awesome, Andre. I love that you accepted that challenge and came back with a hearty Go Pack Go. That was fantastic. And considering you talked about Kenny Clark, it should be easy to remember my name, Scott Clark, just for the record. But hey, no worries. It's all good. I'll just be the other guy. How about that, Wayne? I'll get a jersey that says that on the back of it. Is that okay? Yeah, let's do it. I like it. I love what he said about the defense. And I'm glad that he noticed Kenny Clark. I didn't see him as much probably because I wasn't I wasn't just focusing completely on the game. I was interacting with friends and stuff, so I didn't see him as much. But, man, I really do love that guy. So great voicemail there, Andre. Thanks for calling in.
And thanks for picking up the challenge. You're awake now. That is good to know. Thanks again.
Yeah,
look forward to hearing from you and others again next week.
Hey, Wayne and Scott. This is Rick Snowdy calling, Rick from Wisconsin on Twitter, and I am actually not a Packers fan. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, but I do root for the Pack, except for when they play against Carolina, because my wife is a huge diehard Packers fan, and I've always had a strong dislike for that team that still makes like a Hoover, and enjoyed the game tonight, even though there was not much offense there from either side. They had the one nicely put together drive there for Green Bay, and thankfully that was all that they needed in order to win over the Bears. Bears defense looked really tough, and I don't know if it's any indication of the Packers offensive line or if it's just how good the Bears defense is this year. But I think you also have to give a lot of credit to Packers defense because they held the Bears to even less points than Green Bay got. So I think that it looks like a good start for the Packers. It's always good to start a season with a win, and hopefully they trump the rest of their division and they can play Carolina a second time in the playoffs. Talk to you later.
Rick, thanks again for your call. Great to hear from you. Even if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, but the fact that you root for the Packers in honor of your wife, unless they're playing the Panthers, we'll give you that. We appreciate that. And Rick also enjoyed the game even without very much offense.
Yeah, I agree with him too. I mean, like I said, it wasn't the most exciting games. And side note, Rick, since you are a Carolina Panthers fan, I just got to ask you, what was up with Cam Newton's get up in the press conference? What was he wearing? If you could explain that to me, I'd really appreciate it. But Rick makes a good points. The Bears defense did look tough, and everybody is really quick to jump on the lackluster offense. But we haven't really mentioned that the Bears defense did still do a solid job. So that's a credit to them, and that's not necessarily putting a nail in a coffin for our offense. I think next week will be a true test of how those guys are doing.
Exactly. The fact that we'll be at Lambeau with our own crowd that'll be quiet when Aaron Rodgers is working, or mostly quiet, compared to the Bears fans that were bonkers loud the first quarter or so at least. So that'll all help. I think the extra time and at home, it's going to be a totally different game this particular week. And Rick, we appreciate your call. Look forward to hearing from you again.
Hi, guys. This is David Newman out in Virginia. Just want to give a good Go Pack Go. Glad to see they got the win. I was with Scott. I didn't think they were actually going to win that game, but I'm glad to see the defense could actually give the Pack a win for once, even though the offense struggled. It's first game of the season, new offense. Kind of had to figure that the offense is going to struggle a little bit. Hopefully they clean it up in week 2 and beat the Vikings. Once again, Go Pack Go.
Awesome, David. Thanks so much for the call. I got to give a shout out to him. He's actually one of my listeners over at the Gaming Outsider, very active guy in my community. So glad he's checking out the show. And thanks for the call, man. And thanks for the Go Pack Go. That was awesome. And like you said, was really picking the Bears to win that one, but very, very happy for the outcome.
Yeah, it's great momentum, and the fact that although Aaron Rodgers was knocked down a fair amount of times, it appears that we escaped without a season-ending injury. So 2 thumbs up for that.
You know, that brings up another point. We keep praising this defense up and down, but he did get sacked 5 times. I guess that's the offense, but we're not talking about that as much, you know?
It's early. Everybody's in preseason form. So
yeah,
it's going to be great to see this weekend's game, that's for sure. We also got an email from Caleb Fisher and company in Green Bay. We were so happy with the win that we had against the Bears on Thursday, but we couldn't believe there were so many penalties that should have been called on the Bears that the refs missed, especially that play where Aaron Rodgers was thrown to the ground. Although we got the win, we must still work on our defense even more. Can't wait for the Vikings-Packers game this weekend. Go Pack Go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Excellent email. And like you pointed out, Scott, there was actually a lot of flags and laundry on the field for both sides later on in the game. But poor Aaron Rodgers, I would not want to be thrown to the ground by the Bears defense by my neck.
No, definitely not. But very, very happy for the win. And I like that Caleb said that, you know, we still need to work on our defense even more. The last thing I want to see them do is just kind of rest on their laurels after that win and just kind of being, yeah, we got this, we're fine. No, you gotta go into Minnesota with wanting to win that game just as much as you wanted to win the Bears. They are now our rival. I mean, they're next in line. So they're chasing at our heels, and we've got to win that game.
And as good as our defense looked against the Bears, there were a few times where we came so close to picking off a couple more passes that with just a little more practice and being even better, unstoppable is the term that comes to my mind.
Oh, there were a couple that you could just hear the whole audience where I was at just, oh.
That would have been fantastic.
Would have. Next one comes from Steven. He says, a happy Steven checking in from Palos Park in the Chicago area, home of the Chicago Bears, who still, well, you know. And what a great start to the season by beating the Chicago Bears in Matt LaFleur's debut as head coach in Chicago. I can't wait to hear how Scott Clark thinks his twin Kenny Clark did in the game. Big congratulations go to Matt LaFleur for becoming the first Green Bay Packers head coach since Vince Lombardi in 1959 to beat the Chicago Bears in his debut game against Chicago. Can the Green Bay Packers do something that they haven't done since December 3rd and 10th of 2017 and win 2 games in a row? Thank you so much, Stephen, for the email. As far as Kenny Clark, like I mentioned, I wasn't paying as close attention to him this game as possible. The only time I actually remember hearing him was when he got penalized. Oh. So, you know, that happens, as it were. But I did not know that about Matt LaFleur. First time that's happened since Vince Lombardi. That's impressive. There's a lot of coaches in between there. That's Holmgren. That goes way, way back. So that's a really interesting stat, and I would love to see that happen. First 2 games in a row. I can hear it already. Let's do it.
Has it been that long since we've won 2 in a row?
Is it 2 in a row, or is it 2 in a row from, well, no, first 2 games in a row, maybe? Is that what he means?
I think he just means winning 2 in a row. We would have to check our stats. Ooh. I know that last season had so many things that we would like to forget about that, you know, and in the very first game of the season was when Aaron Rodgers' knee got messed up and he was never really the same the rest of the season. So I would not be surprised. But despite the past, let's move forward and just keep winning games in a row. What do you think?
I'm with it. Let's go for 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 16 in a row.
19.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 19 in a row.
Packers started in 1919, so let's win 19 in honor of that.
Oh, look at that. We're going to play the numbers game. 100th season, 19. Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm all on board.
I love it. And, you know, since we do record the Packers Fan Podcast on Monday afternoons now, we'll need your feedback on a pretty quick turnaround. We know it's a little bit tight. games on Sunday, especially if it's a Sunday night game. But still, we'd love to hear your voices and share it when we record Monday afternoon and get everything prepped earlier in the day. So the deadline to get in your voicemails and emails to be part of the podcast episode will be Sundays at 11 p.m. Central. Obviously, the sooner's the better while the game's fresh in your mind. And of course, when Green Bay does play on Monday night, we'll figure something out and let you know what we're going to do for that. But thanks in advance for your support and your feedback, and go Pack Go. Our weekly poll on Twitter and in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group. Basically this week, a win is a win is a win. Who would you, the listener, give the Packers game ball to? I'll start with you, Scott, before we go over what the listeners voted on.
I mean, you're going to need a whole bunch of game balls because that's going to the defense for sure. That is what won this game for us. Yes, J.K. Scott deserves some credit for those punts that put us in great position to allow the defense to do that, and he should be commended for that, but the defense is where it's at, man.
Well, you're right in line with most of the listeners. 73% of the people that voted did say to give that game ball to the entire defense, but 24% did say J.K. Scott. That's right, a punter. Game ball. And 3% said Jimmy Graham because, he got us the most points that night. So I can understand that as well.
They're probably a Jimmy Graham fan, though, too, to be fair, right?
And although I'm sure this is going to change starting probably this week, no votes for Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
I think
Look at that.
I think it's because Packers fans, we can be open and honest and realize that other positions did more this week, but that's okay. It can all change.
Except for when we're calling the game and guessing the score, right? Right, Wayne?
Right.
Always the Packers win.
Hey,
well, the
so far
community
so good.
had some comments. The community had some comments on there as well.
Janelle in the Facebook group said the entire defense gets the game ball. It's so refreshing to finally see that from the Packers again. Let's just hope the offense can start getting it together with the new coach and the new system. And if they can, and I think they will, we will be unstoppable.
Let's make it happen. Also, Marty in the UK says in the Facebook group, I can't decide if it should just go to Pettin or the entire defense. And I don't want to offend either by making a call. I get it.
I appreciate not wanting to offend anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And thanks for listening, Marty. In the UK, got Australia, UK, America, Canada, other countries. It's good stuff. Now, we do want to go over just a few of the injuries. Obviously, it's early in the week as we record this on Monday night, so the game is still a number of days away, so the official injury reports won't be out until later in the week. But at this point, the ones to really keep an eye on, Oren Burks with the pec injury. He's pretty much been ruled out for sure against this game against Minnesota. And Darius Shepard, the wide receiver, hamstring, he's questionable. I think there's still hope for that one. And Cole Madison, the guard, it says coach's decision. Not exactly sure what that means, but we'll let LaFleur make the decision, I guess.
Yeah, we'll definitely let him make the decision. But and not to disparage these guys who obviously their careers are at stake here, and we hate to see any kind of injuries, but it's refreshing to not see any out on this board at all. Most of it's questionable, and a couple are coach's decision. Let's keep this healthy train rolling, guys. Please.
That would be fantastic. And then the next thing you know, it will be Sunday, September 15th at 12 noon Central Time. The 1-0 Green Bay Packers start a 3-game homestand against the 1-0 Minnesota Vikings. So it's now time for Coach LaFleur's official Lambeau debut. And in the all-time series, Green Bay is leading 60-54 and 3 ties. That's half as many ties as we've had over the years with the Bears.
Yeah.
But Minnesota
crazy.
Doesn't go back quite as far as the Bears do. And after that rough offensive showing in Chicago, after 3 extra days of rest, expect the Packers offense to be much more in sync, and the Lambeau faithful in the stands should help out with that as well. And we're hoping to see our new exciting defense, yes, I said exciting defense, take that next step Sunday afternoon. And the Packers, being this the first home game of the year and division rival and all that good stuff, they're planning several events for this home opener all weekend long against the Vikings. Brett Favre's added to the list of exciting activities for the weekend. He's going to be making, among other things, a special autograph signing appearance at D2 Sports Pub in, is it pronounced Ashwaubenon?
Ashwaubenon. Nice job, man.
Oh, man. And that's what NBC 26 Sports says. And at halftime, the Packers are going to have a program and ceremony to honor the legacy of the late, great Bart Starr. And since this is Packers Alumni Weekend, there's going to be a lot of former players in attendance, including some of the ones who have played with Bart Starr. So that's going to be awesome. So many things to look. This would be a great weekend to spend up in Green Bay. Are there
Come on up, man. Let's do it.
Are there other things you're looking for in this game, Scott?
In the game specifically, no, I think you pretty much covered it, but I will say I'm just glad that I can actually watch this one from the comfort of my own home. As you know, I'm deep in the heart of Bear country. So if the Bears game and the Packer game overlap, I do not get to watch the Packers game live. I have to go venture out to a local establishment to watch it. But thankfully, these games are one's at noon, one's at 3, so I'll be able to watch it at home with my wife, and I'm looking very much forward to it. Another tradition that we have, the first home game of the season, my wife makes nachos. Just those, those little round tortilla chips with seasoned beef and cheese and black olives. Real super simple, but I look forward to it every year, and I cannot wait to have that on Sunday.
As long as the nachos are all done before kickoff, so you can keep that kickoff rule.
Well, you see, the way our kitchen is positioned, there's actually a giant bar and like a hole in the wall between the kitchen and the living room. So as long as she can visually see the television from the kitchen where she may be, sprinkling those nachos, but she usually has them done beforehand, and I'm very thankful that she does that for me.
Awesome. That's fantastic, and it sounds like a win-win. And as the wins keep coming for the Packers, the Green Bay Packers, they do put out their official dope sheet every week, and although it doesn't come out usually till late Tuesday afternoon, once it does come out, we'll post a link to that in our show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com. The game time weather this time of year, it's pretty standard. It's going to be partly cloudy with a high around 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 28 degrees Celsius. Mondays. Perfect conditions to put on some sunscreen and root for another NFC North Division victory for the green and gold.
I love that you said it's pretty standard, man. That's the California speaking in you, man. 82 degrees is hot for a football game. Even if you're in the stands, that is a hot football game.
Okay, so people could be suffering in the stands?
Oh, not necessarily suffering. I'm more concerned for the players. That's very warm. This time of year, it's usually not this warm. You're hoping in the September and October months to get into the 50s and 60s.
Okay,
maybe not quite that low, but 82 is pretty warm.
So they'll probably have the Mr. fans blowing on everybody and trying to make sure there aren't cramps. And if the crowd gets extra loud and the beer prices go down, like we talked about last week, it could be doing pretty well.
Is that official? Is that actually happening, or was that just like a rumor?
I would have to go to a game to find out.
Yeah, you are going to have to go to a game. I'm going to bug you every week, man, until you come up to a game with me. With me and my wife.
I'll talk to Deb, and we got to see what we can do to try to make that commitment. Anything's 82 is going to be warm, especially if there's a little bit of humidity. But I do recall when the Rams came back to LA, I'm like, I gotta go, and it was Rams versus Seahawks, the opening game, 1 p.m. Our time here in California. It was 102 degrees. It was miserable.
That's brutal. Do you have the humidity that we have in the Midwest, though?
We did last week, but not. It was dry heat, so it was okay. But they were not prepared. First game back at the Coliseum, and they ran out of bottled water before the first quarter even kicked off, and it was lines at drinking fountains. It was just like being back in 4th grade.
Hey, I know what that's like.
There you go.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the keys to a Packers victory. And I've got 4 points here that I think is going to be crucial for us to win against the Vikings. The number one thing we've been talking about all episode is the defense. The Vikings showed the Falcons no mercy on Sunday, and it will be really interesting to see how our new and improved defense handles those guys. The Bears didn't put up very much, so this will be a true test of Pettine's group, and I really am excited to see that more than anything. As much as I love the offense, I'm really hoping that defense sticks with it and for us to be a contender there once again. Number 2 is the offense. We got to do something. anything. We can't win this season on our defense and kicker alone, or punter for that matter. We definitely need more than one touchdown this game. We're not going to go anywhere with one score. And thirdly, penalties. The last thing I want to see is Green Bay losing a game because of flags. It's happened before. I don't want it to happen again. And I know that the rules have changed quite a bit over the years, but we've got to follow them to secure a victory against a tough rival if we're going to make it for this season. And lastly, the crowd. This is the first home game of the season, so the Packers fans will be in full G-force. See what I did there? The support is definitely needed on both sides of the ball. We've won in Chicago, and we can't let Minnesota do the same to us at Lambeau, so we need to get loud, people.
Those are excellent keys to victory, and yeah, I expect, no matter how warm it is, the crowd to be full voice. So let's dig into our crazy game predictions. Last week, I don't know why we were both predicting pretty high scores.
Well, we weren't expecting the defenses to both be that good, that's for sure.
You predicted Bears 27, Packers 17. I got Bears 23, Packers 31. And of course, we got Bears 3, Packers 10. But a win is a win is a win.
Yeah, I feel like our differences were were bigger than the total score of points in the game.
That's a good point.
Just pretty sad.
But I did guess the victory right. So pure guess, but I'll take that.
All right, so you are up 1-0 for the season so far. Now we got to figure out what we're going to do.
Okay, we will.
Because and we're going to say our predictions here in a second, but spoiler alert, we both picked the Packers to win, right?
Oh, that's going to make it interesting.
It is going to make it interesting. So if we lose, obviously neither of us gets a point. So we've got to have something to do with score differential here to make things up, to determine who's going to be closest. Okay. So like if no matter what, we're going to have the same amount of win points on here. So I'm suggesting, and I'll see what you think, that we do the difference from the score of each team, and whichever has a smaller amount of points between the two of them wins that week. What do you think?
That sounds like math. I'll put you in charge of that. Okay. I like it though.
Well, for instance, last week you picked Packers 31, Bears 23. The actual score was 10-3. So if you take the difference of your Bears score, which is 23-3, that's 20 points, and then the score of the Packers 31-30, that difference is 21 points. So you would have a differential of 41 points.
Oh. Okay.
And then we do the same thing for me, and then whoever has the lowest number there wins in the event of a tie.
Roger that. Okay.
Makes sense?
That makes sense. So how do you think it's
I'm competitive, man. I'm competitive. There's got to be a clear-cut winner here.
Whether or not nachos are involved.
Exactly.
Well, how do you see this weekend coming out? You kind of spoilered that we're both picking a victory, which we're at home, so I thank goodness you're voting for a victory.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be close. I think Packers 20, Vikings 17. What about you?
The Heart Attack Pack. I do like the fact that you picked a victory, 20-17. I think our defense is going to play strong, holding the Vikings to only 10 points at the most.
Okay.
But the Packers
even after what they did in Baltimore, huh? Or not Baltimore, Atlanta.
Thank goodness they didn't play Baltimore. Yeah, I think the Falcons are pretty sloppy.
Okay.
Everybody's been high on them. Yeah, I still think Vikings 10, Packers 24. So that's a 14-point margin of victory. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, either way, we both got to win, so it's going to come down to points for us next week. I feel like we have to have some kind of wager on this, too, like container cheese curds or something like that.
I don't know how the shipping would work out, but it'd be fine. So basically, if the Packers win 51-0, I'll be doing all right.
Exactly. There you go.
And if it goes into overtime and the Packers win 20-17, well, hey, there you go. Ooh, that's ominous.
Ooh. Well, you guys let us know, those of you that what should Wayne and I wager for the overall season here in terms
chime
of chime in, let us know. 920 3-pack go. What should we gamble towards each other for the total score at the end of the year? Because I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
Roger that. Standing by. Now, we did get a few good things in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group that we wanted to share with you since the last episode. Matt Haig said the Bears still He also pointed out that J.K. Scott is a beast, and Mitch threw a completion in the end zone, but Aaron threw a touchdown on those two plays that decided the winner of the game. And we were the number one team in all of the NFL for a few days till yesterday happened. And it just feels great to start 1-0 after beating our division rival. Amen to that, Matt.
100%. And Janelle says, we've got a defense. I feel like it's been a long time since we've been able to say that. Remember a couple seasons ago when we were like, hey, we have a running game? Now we have a defense.
I'd like to have both at the same time.
Well, so would I. Let's go for all three. How about that? Just make Papa happy.
Oh, yes.
Troy Heinrichs actually replied to Janelle's comment and said, did someone say we got a defense? I just want to make sure that gets on the record. We got a defense.
Very true. Thank you very much. Jared says it's always a good feeling to start off the season with a win, especially against the Bears. Regarding the defense, despite how bad Chicago shot themselves in the foot, I still think I can safely say it appears we have a defense to be reckoned with. Did somebody say we have a defense? And loved the push that Rodgers did to Pettin on the sideline because he's so clearly happy with the performance of the defense. And it was appearance that our defense was getting tired, but they kept pushing and finished strong.
I gotta say one quick thing about the love push that Jared mentioned here, because I admit I love that as well, and I want someone to settle an argument for me because I've watched the tape, but a friend of mine that was watching the game with swore that he saw Rodgers after he pushed Pettin, that he went over to LaFleur, got in his face, pointed at his fingers, and hurled an obscenity at him. And I watched it over and over again. I don't know how he got that from that. Maybe slightly the body language, but to me it seemed like Rodgers was super excited and not trying to get in his face in a negative way. But did you see anything?
Nothing to that sort. It all looked like happiness on the sidelines, as it should be. Even if we're a little sloppy, we did win, and the defense was awesome. I didn't see anything negative at all, except for in the post-game press conference when the Chicago Bears coach said 3 points. That's ridiculous.
Well,
yeah.
To be fair, it is.
Yeah, Captain Obvious right there. Jared continued regarding the offense. On that note, still quite concerned with our offense. Got a few flashbacks from last season with players not on the same page and drives just outright stalling out. I'm not sure if it's shaking out the cobwebs due to the lack of preseason play, some lingering issues from last season, or a bit of both, but that needs to be figured out.
Absolutely. Can't agree with them any more than that. Also, just some general thoughts about the week. Pretty sure SpaceX could just hire J.K. Scott to launch their rockets with his Robotow.
Oh,
are you with me on that one?
He could do it.
Man, it's really impressive to watch. As we've said a couple times, the Bears still, well, I did want to talk a little bit about this new rule that I don't know if I agree with it or not, but you can now throw the red challenge flag for penalties. How do you feel about that, Wayne? Do you think this is going to stall down the game, or is this something that we should applaud?
I don't think it's going to slow it down very much. I'm all for the right call finally being made, and I doubt that coaches are going to abuse it as much as some people think they might, because you only get so many challenges, and you don't want to risk losing a timeout. So you really got to know that it's an important play for them to go to the red flag and throw it out. But I am for it. You, sir?
Okay. I'm not quite sure how I feel. It's a little bit different than actual plays, because when they call a play, the play is called the way it's called. The first time somebody calls something, that's how it is. Even if they feel differently about it, that's how it was called. Penalties, if I'm understanding this correctly, are a little bit different, because they can throw a red flag or throw a yellow flag and then pick it up and say there are no fouls in the play. Correct? So we shouldn't see this too often.
Right. That's a great point, Scott.
So, like you said, it's not going to be abused too much, because there is always that risk of losing a timeout, which is obviously very, very precious. And you can only do so many anyway, even if they're, is that right? You can only challenge so many times and a half,
right? Even
if you get them right.
Yeah.
So it's something you got to kind of hang on to for the ones that really, really matter. So it just seems weird to me that we keep changing this, and I don't want to get to where we're constantly under the hood keep him from the game. Just make the call right. Get that guy, because I was watching the game last night. I believe it was last night. I cannot remember his name, but the really popular guy that comes in and always comments on the game. Can we just have him officiate the games? And he knows what he's doing. Almost always he's got the call right before the refs do, and he's got the view of the cameras and stuff. Just phone a friend, guys.
Yeah,
Speed up. Let's get this thing going.
Seems like all three of the major networks, Fox, NBC, and CBS, all have a former head of officiating or high up official that used to be doing it for a living that's able to help sort those things out. And they're able to do it, like you said, correctly most of the time before we wait for things to happen. But again, preseason, so hoping for the best. And I just have a feeling that they let us try this rule out for one season solely because of what happened in the Saints-Rams playoff game last year.
That's true. That's true. One other point I wanted to mention was, I know this isn't necessarily Packers related, but this Antonio Brown controversy has just got a lot of people fired up. How would you have felt if we had picked up Antonio Brown? Not that it was going to happen, because clearly they had a plan for him, or he had a plan, or Belichick had a plan for him. But it seems almost unfair that New England picked him up after the trouncing they pulled on Pittsburgh last night without Antonio Brown. What do you think?
I think the whole thing is sickening. It's really ridiculous that, and I'm no Raiders fan, but after what Antonio Brown did to the Raiders multiple times in the past month, to have this, I know this has got to have been orchestrated by Belichick, the Patriots. I mean, they've shown over the past 10 years they're willing to do anything. They don't care if the Raiders are now trashed for an entire season or two, worse than they were. The whole thing's just leaves me with a bitter taste, as if I need yet another reason to hate the New England Patriots.
Exactly. And that's what really bothers me about the whole story the most, is that he's getting rewarded for just being not
Diva.
a nice person. Yeah, like he's getting what he wants. And I don't like it when we reward people for just being selfish. I'm not going to say a horrible person. I don't know the guy personally.
But very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that I know a lot of the other teams in the Patriots division do not look very good, but hopefully they somehow and other teams can, stop the Patriots. Enough with the Patriots. And the NFL has to realize that, they love having a dynasty, but at the same time, when the Patriots were in the last Super Bowl, ratings were down because we are all just tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Got to throw something in there. If they can deflate the balls, we can do something to make them stop winning, right?
Yeah, something's got to happen.
Are you? I don't think I asked you this year yet, but do you do a fantasy football at all?
No.
I never have, or just don't like it?
I did it one year, and I had such a hard time picking any players that weren't Packers. My team was almost solely Packers players, and I absolutely refused to pick any 49ers, Cowboys, or Patriots that I just dead last. It was terrible. It was pathetic. And my son warned me ahead of time, but I just can't do it.
I love it, man.
Do you do pretty well?
The first year I did it in my current league, because it's the same guys every year. The first year I won. The second year I took second. I have yet to win again since then, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I drafted a C+ this year.
They give you a grade before the games are even played?
Yeah, they give you a rating based on how well you drafted, and Yahoo was not happy with my picks. So I'm projected to win this week. Obviously, all the games are played except for tonight, but I've got an 81% chance of coming out on top. So fingers crossed there. I made some really poor decisions in my lineup this week that I wish I could take back, namely Cleveland as my defense. So stay tuned for next week to see how that's going down.
I hear you. I do play the Yahoos, just straight pick 'em. Just pick the winners of all the games. And I was off to a fiery start, being one of the only ones in the group that picked the Packers. I haven't checked yet to see what I'm doing, because there's still 2 more games as we speak right now. So we'll have to see how that goes.
I'm in a pick'em league as well, but it's actually a survivor pool, which means every week you have to pick one team that you think is going to win. And as long as you make that pick correctly, you survive to the next week. However, you make one wrong call, then you're out for the entire season, and it's the last person standing takes home the pot. The catch is that you cannot pick the same team twice in the entire season. So you have to pick somebody different every week. So that's kind of fun.
Who are you picking?
I actually, I forgot to look to see if my team won, but I picked the Chargers over Indianapolis. Did they win? Please tell me Los Angeles won.
I believe they did.
Okay, thank goodness, because they tied it up there for a while. So
it was pretty back and forth. It was crazy. There's more great discussions in the Facebook community group, including more of your listener game day rules and or traditions that y'all shared. Scott shows off his special victory tie and pictures of his Packers fan students in there. That was great to see. And more, all at PackersCommunity.com, which is also awaiting your posts, comments, as well as your rules and traditions. And that victory tie, Scott, you're going to wear that puppy out this season.
I hope so. I've had that same tie for near a decade, man. I've had that same one, and I've kept it. I only wear it the day after Packers wins when I go to work. So here's to hoping we get another one. Also, if you love to play video games as much as I do, please be sure to check out my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider, which can be heard at the same places you listen to this one. We're even hosting our first ever video game convention called R2V2 on Saturday, September 21st, with 3 celebrity voice actresses, including Melissa Hutchison, the voice of Clementine from Telltale's The Walking Dead. If you'd like to get more info on that, head over to thegamingoutsider.com/R2V2.
And is that in the Rockford, Illinois area?
It is. I probably should have said that, shouldn't I? It's actually in Machesney Park, which is just north of Rockford. So if you're in Los Angeles, you might have a bit of a drive, or UK, or Australia, or South Carolina, all of where you guys are listening.
If you're a diehard gamer and you want to get out there, you still can. So
I tell you what, if you guys come out to the R2V2 and you come up and you tell me that you are a Packers Fan Podcast listener, I will give you a big old bear hug. How about that?
Fair enough. And on my side of the mic, Stephen King's Castle Rock series on Hulu is finally coming back for season 2 in the middle of October. I guess they want to cash in on the whole Halloween scariness feels for Castle Rock. So that's coming up on Hulu season 2. And I do the Castle Rock Zone podcast devoted to Castle Rock. You can find that, coincidentally enough, at castlerockzone.com. Thank you so much for financially supporting your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. The value for value model for supporting your favorite podcasts is a real thing, and it's amazing when you see it in action. So thanks go out to listener Bryant, channeling Packers legend Willie Wood by supporting the show at the $24 a month level. You rock, Bryant. Also grateful for the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics and their Facebook group and their $12 a month pledge level in honor of, who else? AR12, Aaron Rodgers.
And supporting the podcast at the Brett Favre $4 monthly level, like the Iron Man himself, Lawrence Harvey, Andre in LA, Go Pack Go. Support dedicated to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame of Wausau, and Jeff Summerfield. Of course, more Go Pack Goes going out to our Curly Lambeau $1 monthly supporters. That includes Aaron Peterson from The Hollywood Outsider, Matt Haig, and Hank Davis from the TPE Network of Podcasts. Check out how you too can financially support the podcast and have some fun at a level to match your budget by visiting patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. Thanks, and Go Pack Go. Also, we are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast and not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we're definitely open to it. And if any of you are listening, please contact us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com.
And follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. You can follow Scott on Twitter at GoCastScott, and I'm at Wayne Henderson. And please join our Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community by visiting PackersCommunity.com and join those conversations.
And we really want you to be a part of the next episode. Just get your feedback in by Sunday night at 11 p.m. Central. Go to PackersFanPodcast.com and click the Contact Us button for details. Thank you so much for joining us again this week on your Packers Fan Podcast.
And be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice so you don't miss an episode. It's now time to get fired up for the home opener. It will be here before you know it. Let's have our friends at the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics group take us out.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie. Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack Go!